Hey guys, welcome to our first episode of the Becoming Benjamin podcast.
Yep, Becoming Benjamin.
My name is Jade Benjamin.
My name's Corey Benjamin.
And yeah, we've been married for 4 years now, or going on 4 years now.
Yep.
This year will be 4 years. And we just felt led to start a podcast for you guys. Just kind of, we'll dive into what things we're going to talk about. But first, we just kind of want to start off with introducing ourselves and just so that you guys can get to know us.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're just going to kind of just introduce ourselves. Do you want to go first?
So I'm Corey Benjamin. I'm from New Jersey. For my profession, I'm a medical doctor. Okay,
and like I said, I'm Jade, and I'm from Jersey as well. And for a profession, I am a cosmetic chemist.
Yeah. So I think our podcast, Becoming Benjamin, because we're both now. He's a Benjamin. I'm a Benjamin, of course. We're just it's a podcast. We're just discussing life, things we've gone through in life. The lessons life has taught us before we got married, while we're in this marriage journey as well. I just want to kind of bring you guys along this journey that we're on as well, and just share things we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just kind of just talking about, like he said, just things that we learned in our short time of being married, and just kind of talking about things that we've gone through before marriage even. And just life. Honestly, we just want to chat with you guys about life and just kind of give you our perspective on things, what God says about certain things about marriage and life, those kind of things. And yeah, we're here for a good time and a long time.
Amen. So, kind of want to bring you guys back a little bit, on this journey. So, and we'll discuss more about kind of how we met in Whole Nine Yards in a different episode. Oh, yeah. But just want to kind of drop you guys into July. I think it was July 12th when we got engaged. It was July 13th. It was July 13th actually.
Mm-hmm.
2019. So July 13th, 2019. No one in this world, for the most part, knew COVID was on its way. We were, happily engaged that day, planning for, being married the following year, and we had a small window to kind of get engaged because at the time I was going into my second year of medical school. It was a summer between the first and second year of medical school. And we have a very short window of time, like maybe 2 months, right? It was like, I think I finished in June. So we were like, okay, I was like, we got engaged in July and then plan everything. And then COVID happened. It was like, whoa, so much happened, right? With COVID and everything too.
Yeah.
Remind me again, I think like we were like at times like we would travel to, you would travel from Jersey to Virginia, we would see each other because we were at this point we were long distance, which she was still in Jersey.
Yeah.
Right. I think you had just finished your master's program.
I was still in my master's program at the same time while we were dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I was finishing up my master's program. I was going to be done in May of 2020. So basically school was like normal, and then March 2020 hits and it's completely remote. And we're just like, oh, like, are we going to have a graduation? Like, what is this going to look like? Thankfully we did. Everything was virtual.
Right.
But it was planning a wedding, going to school, working all at the same time. So it was a very busy time in life for me. And for him too, because he was in school and we're planning, to move down to Virginia together, which we did. Thank God, everything worked out. But yeah, we were planning to get married June of 2020. And then by March of 2020, everything got canceled. Like all of our plans got canceled. Yeah, we had to do plan B. And thankfully, our pastor was able to marry us. We just had a small ceremony with just our like siblings and our parents, and then had like a small reception in a park nearby, which was really nice and really intimate and special. We took really nice pictures and had pretty much had a wedding cake. We had cut the cake, we toasted, had the first dance. Like it really was really special. It really still wound up being really special, considering how everything was during that time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll never forget that. And I'm sure those that attended will never forget it either. All of our friends, and shout out to everyone that made it to our COVID wedding.
Thank you to all 25 people who probably was like maybe it was a small
at the park. More people came,
of course, at the park.
So maybe 40.
Yeah.
But whatever. We thank everyone. Thank you. Because that was a crazy time.
It was crazy.
And we were the first ones to really have like a COVID wedding that we knew of.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a crazy time. So
yeah. No, and I think, I think about like, so June 6th was our official like wedding day.
Yeah.
And then the next day, June 7th,
we're packing up the
car and you're moving from Jersey all the way back down to Virginia. And I remember during our marriage, we discussed about how we kind of laughed to ourselves because, she's a Hampton grad. And so where I went to med school was literally 30, 40 minutes away from Hampton. And so I know you remarked, you were like, oh, you like going to Hampton, but like you never envisioned ever living back in down in Virginia, and here we are. that was a whole shock to the system, right? And so the next day after the wedding, we were packing up and moving you down to Virginia as well. And I think there were so many things I feel like happened with that whole process that we didn't even like know how to even calculate for, right? I think that there was expectations I feel like we had regards to like being able to still find a job down there as well. That was within your, because you shifted from where you were wanting to do to now shifting to going full-fledged into kind of the cosmetic chemistry route as well. So I don't know, maybe you could speak a little more to kind of like what that all, like that whole process, what it like looked like for you, because, I kind of was observing kind of from outside looking in, but I mean, I feel like there was like so much that I feel like you were going through that like, in that short span of time,
Yeah. So, basically, like you said, got married next day, packing up, moving, packing our cars down to move into our apartment in Virginia. And at the time, I kind of was like, oh, I'll find a job, down there, even though the market wasn't as plentiful as it is up north, just being honest. I thought maybe I'll work a retail job, like maybe be a beauty advisor or just anything cosmetic related, but just something in the meantime, surely I can find something, I wasn't worried, at the time. So I'm applying. Well, before applying, moved down there. The first 3 months of the marriage, it's just kind of like settling in. I'm super excited, getting the place together, decorating, learning different things like how to cook really. And, just how to take care of the home and take care of him at the same time. I just wanted him to be like really comfortable because I know he was studying and he was going to be busy. So I just wanted it to be like as comfortable as possible. And so for the first 3 months, I think I was like really occupied with just settling in and just the excitement of being married. But after about, like the third month, it was kind of like, okay, I want to be working now. And so I, started putting applications out more seriously, and I wasn't having any bites, and I mean, like for the most basic of things like Walmart, no shade to anybody that works at Walmart, but Target, like Amazon, no one was hiring me. And it was really difficult. It was really difficult, not gonna lie. On one hand, I'm happy because I'm just being married is something I had desired for a long time. And I'm grateful that I'm being married and starting this new life together with him. But on the other hand, it was kind of like, dang, like, why can't I find a job? Like, I'm just trying to do something like Ulta, like Macy's, anything. And yeah, it just wasn't happening. And I started to get discouraged, not gonna lie, over the next, 3 months, which we can talk more about, in another.
There's so much
guys.
to discuss from this alone.
We have so much to say within our almost 4 years of marriage. We've been through so much, and we can't wait to share and dive in with you guys.
God has blessed us, but
God has blessed us, and He's been faithful, and I'm grateful for everything we went through now that we're on the other side of it. So, but anyway, so yeah, I was just kind of, sad by that I wasn't able to find a job, while at the same time he's able to study and pursue his dreams. It kind of felt like, dang, like I didn't, get married to, not be able to pursue my dreams. Like, as I just mentioned, I just graduated in March with my master's degree. So I plan to be working using some of that master's degree, putting some of that to work. But so I'm leaving family and friends. I'm leaving the market, like a market that's good for my career. And it was a lot. It was a lot. It was pretty lonely at times, because then also he's studying. So he's in his room or in the office, studying away, pretty much just see him when it's like time to eat, and then like time for dinner, pretty much, or breakfast, maybe dinner, whatever. But for the most part, he was like studying. So I had like a lot of time alone. And remember, this is also a time of COVID. So it wasn't like I'm just going out making friends. Like, we all were inside. We all were locked down. So I'm just like at home, just feeling so alone, like living with someone, but just feeling so alone.
Right. I think that's like, not to cut you off. I think that's such an important piece. I think element. I think there's so much to that. I think that like it's so worthwhile even discussing that in a whole separate thing. And just about kind of that whole element of like how you were feeling. I feel like, because there's so much I didn't realize you were feeling until we really talked about it. We really, kind of like really flushed it out as well.
Yeah. I just didn't at the time feel like I had anyone I could talk to. Like, no one in my family, no one that I knew of was in a situation like married to a doctor, married to someone like with a demanding profession like this. I didn't feel like anyone understood. So I just didn't talk to anyone really fully about it, and just kept it to myself and just try to deal with it myself. That's how I kind of tried to deal with it.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of what I didn't realize, when you coming down, was that you had sacrificed a lot. You sacrificed,
yes.
In Jersey, the jobs that, when you go for are far more plentiful, right? That is a much larger market for these particular things. So you sacrificed, coming down, going way out of your market to come down to Virginia. You sacrificed being near family, right? You hadn't really made a move like that permanently,
right? No,
because you were still at home with your family, with your parents, in Jersey. So that was a huge move. You're now 6 hours away, like in a sense, it's way more permanent, right, than where you have been before. So that was a huge sacrifice you made there, right? And then you made the sacrifice of just giving of your time, right? You're now like helping me while you're like watching me kind of like be able to kind of go through my process of like living out this, journey of becoming a doctor, right? And while you on your end are not able to kind of access a job opportunity too. So you're sacrificing so many different things as well, right? And, I have my own regrets about kind of not recognizing how much sacrifice you made earlier on in a marriage. This is months into our marriage, and you're having to make these major sacrifices, and I'm not thinking about as much of it as I probably should, right? And eventually, a lot of this came to head up about our thinking about how much sacrifice you were making, because it's really tied to kind of how it was affecting you, even mentally too. And that's something we'll discuss kind of on a different topic. But then something kind of pops up, right? You get this,
Right.
you get something, you get an opportunity.
We were praying
Right.
that I would find a job, and basically, like around Christmas time, I get a call or a message from one of my old managers from the job I just was at during COVID while I was in school. And basically, they were asking if I wanted to come back to work for them just for a few months, like as a contract position. And yeah, they wanted me to start in January. And mind you, I'm ecstatic. I enjoyed that job while I was there, but it's in Jersey. So I then go to Corey and I'm like, they just asked me about this job. And he knows this whole time, this is like 6 months into the marriage. Like he knows I'm not getting any bites. Like I'm not getting any jobs. And then they reach out to me, which was a God moment, because I can't make this up, like I can't make this up. I hadn't talked to her, my manager, since the previous year. So yes, she found my number, contacted me. I talked to Corey about it. And at first, like, how did you react to me saying, hey, I got this job in Jersey?
Listen, I ain't gonna hold y'all. I was upset. I'm not gonna lie, I was upset. I was like, man, like, God, we've been praying for a job. I'm like, selfishly, I was like, Lord, I've been praying for a job for her down here. So, so I can continue to reap the benefits of all the things she's been able to give to me. And God was like, hold on. It's not time for you to sacrifice. He had to really check me and help me realize all the things that you've sacrificed to come down, the time you spent to come down, the things you gave up to come down, willingly gave up to come down to like make the house feel like a home, willingly came down to do for me. And God was like, it's your opportunity, your time to be able to build your wife up the way she's built you up. It's your opportunity to sacrifice and allow for her to have this moment for her, right? Now, remember, we're 6 months into our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord has opened this door for her. And I'm praying, I'm like upset. And the Lord's like, I'm expecting the Lord to be like, yeah, you're right. She shouldn't go to get that job. And the Lord is telling me the opposite. So I'm like, whoa. So I'm like, Lord, I'm going to pray about this again. God was like, no. I've already given you my answer. You don't need to pray about it again. You need more clarification. I know you hear me. I know you heard me tell you what to do. And I was like, all right, well, I guess you're going to be working in Jersey. And listen, I'm sure if you hear this, if you were like 6 months into marriage, now you're going to be 6 hours away from each other. She's going to be working in Jersey. But we prayed about it, and the Lord just gave us like insight about like how to make it work, right? Like,
yeah.
So essentially, listen, this is a sidebar. Jade's amazing, okay? Because this is what you would do like once a month, okay? So we had an agreement that when she would come back down to Virginia, I would do no work that weekend. So she would come on a weekend. And I think for that job, you still had Mondays off, I believe, right?
Yeah, I worked it out with them in the beginning. I explained to them my situation. I was really open and honest, because when I left the job during COVID, or when the job ended during COVID, basically they knew I was engaged and they knew I was getting married. So at this time, I'm married now. And I told my manager that from the beginning. And she said, oh, well, she came up with the idea, which is, again, a God moment, because I didn't even think this would be possible. But she's like, oh, well, you can be off on Mondays, like be basically off once a week, every week. So basically I'm working 4 days a week, so that basically I would be able to go down on the weekends I need to go down. I'll be off on a Friday and then that Monday of the next week. So I will have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then travel back up to Jersey from Virginia on Monday and then go back to work on Tuesday. And that's how I was able to work my schedule out with her so that we were able to, see each other, essentially.
Right. Yeah. So we basically did that.
That was a blessing.
So it was a blessing. We did that once a month. So initially I was like, man, how is this going to work? But when I tell you that the Lord has blessed us mightily through our marriage,
yeah,
I think we went from like you. I personally feel like you went from like just feeling like very not great mentally to just being so much happier.
Yeah.
Not because we weren't near each other, but because you were able to be closer to an environment that worked, with your family.
Just being with family. I was living back with family.
You were living back with family. You were able to be at, a familiar location because you were working at L'Oreal before you left after you got married. So, you went back to a familiar environment to a L'Oreal. You were able to utilize your degree. We're both able to kind of rise and do our thing together.
Right. Which is what I always thought marriage should be. Like, and I remember having conversations like this with my mom. Like, it just seems so unfair that like Corey gets to chase his dreams and he's like working towards it and growing and doing his thing, but I can't work towards my dreams. Like, why can't it be a parallel thing that we're doing it together at the same time? That's what partnership, that's what marriage should be. And that's what I wanted it to be. I didn't sign up to be married to not be working.
Right.
Like, I'm a career woman, like I enjoy working. I enjoy it. And he enjoys working too. So, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
So I just thought it was like really unfair, at the time. But looking back, I did need that time because it's kind of like I needed to learn how to, be a wife and do like wifely things.
Mm-hmm. And you do a fantastic job at that.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
For real.
I try.
No.
And he does a great job too. We have shared responsibilities. In this house. It's not woman, no gender roles.
Right.
With us.
Right.
It's very much chip in where you need to.
Right. Right.
And
that's something we'll discuss too as well.
That's another topic for another day.
But
yes.
But again, speaking back on the sacrifice piece, I remember sharing kind of later on with family members about kind of this arrangement that we had, and I think a lot of them were like, "Wow," but I think one of the most important things to be reminded of, is speaking to those who are thinking about getting married, currently married, right? What sacrifice looks like for you within your marriage, like, is different for every single person. Right. And there will be moments where you're going to have to sacrifice. There are other moments that we've had to sacrifice too. There are other different scenarios where we've had to, kind of turn back the page of this moment of sacrifice to remind ourselves and each other about like, okay, this is what this looks like. This is, and I think that moment of sacrifice for me served as a reminder of the Lord's grace and mercy within our marriage. Right. That early on, the Lord was just reminding us that He's got us. Like, there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to be worried about. Like, whatever door He's opened, like, He wants you to walk through that door and wants me to be fully supportive of you walking through that door, right?
Yeah.
The blessings, there's so many blessings that came through that we weren't even, I think, expecting to even happen. I think we were just expecting that now you have a job and that's great, right? But there are so many other things that happened after that too, even just because you having the job, that were like a blessing too as well.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I think about, like, since I was in school, during a time we were able to get you can like a tax credit if you have employment. But because I was getting loans through med school, that's not a job, right? But because we were to do our taxes together, and because you were working a job at L'Oreal, we were able to get a tax credit because she was working at L'Oreal. There was no way we would have been able to predict that. But remember, she started working that job, and because you were working a job back in, earlier, you're working a job back in June, and you left in June, and then we started back in January too. We got tax credits for both those things, basically span both years as well, right? So the point is, like, there are blessings that the Lord opened up for us that we didn't even know would have happened. Only happened because, we just were obedient.
Right. And we were on one accord.
Yes.
It's just so important to be on one accord. I just can't stress it enough. As long as you two are on the same page and you guys are praying for God's will, and even if you're not with someone, you should be praying for God's will regardless, because his way is the best way,
right.
period.
100%.
So yeah, if you're having trouble or whatever, pray for God's will. But anyways, so just being on the same page, regardless of what, family is saying. Like, family, they mean well and they want the best for both of us, and on paper, it wasn't like ideal. We just got married.
Right.
Why would we get married just to be living apart?
Living 6
It
hours
doesn't
away.
it doesn't make sense.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. And I understand the concerns and things like that wholeheartedly. I do. I was concerned myself. Like, I don't want to get divorced.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was a lot of concern, but and I appreciate the concern, but it just made us just have to dig in deeper and trust what we feel like God was saying to us about the situation. Like, it was a temporary thing, and it worked out because he was very busy in school, like studying hard. He started going back in person, working in the hospitals, which was a crazy time during med school. He started going back in, starting to study for step exams and all that. He was very, very busy. It was very consuming. So at the same time, while I was working back in Jersey, he was able to not feel guilty that he wasn't giving me the attention that I needed or whatever. So it worked out for both of us. I was able to be back home with family, got to see my friends, I don't know, just back to familiarity. Yeah. Okay. And, and I just took a lot from that time and brought it just back to Virginia with me. Just certain things I was sacrificing, which this is another thing I want to touch on. So just sacrificing, I don't know, my wants for his. We don't have to like the same things. You know what I mean? We're two different people. For example, I'm just going to say this. He has a lot of allergies, right? Like nuts, peanuts, seafood, shrimp, mostly shrimp. He can do fish, but he has these kind of allergies. And earlier on, I was kind of not, buying these kind of things, not cooking these kind of things, because although I love these things, I like peanut butter, but I love seafood. I love shrimp and crabs and all that, but he cannot eat that. So I was kind of like, oh, well, he can't have it. Also, he was not wanting to drink milk in the beginning because,
listen,
calories.
Listen, look,
guys,
and listen,
that's what it was.
A lot of us got lactose.
And that too. That too. So certain things he was trying to stay away from, but these are things that I like. I like cereal. I like milk with my cereal. So it was just that. But when I went back to Jersey, I was eating these things again, and I was so happy. Just the simple things, the things that I enjoyed that I forgot or that I was kind of dismissing or putting to the side because, oh, he can't have it. So I'm not going to have it.
Right.
But when we came back to Jersey, I was no, I'm eating those things. I like peanut butter. Right. I like milk. Right. I like shrimp, and I will just contain it in my own little thing, and we're going to be good.
Right. And by the way,
it made me so happy. Food makes me happy. I'm sorry.
Your decision.
I'm not sorry.
Your decision on not eating those things was not because I asked you to not do that.
No, it wasn't.
It was a decision.
It wasn't, guys.
I feel you made yourself. In fact, I was I don't know why you stopped doing it. I can just go to a different room. When we were living in Virginia, we were living in a condo, so I could have just, if it really bothered me, I could go to the next floor and just, let you eat the food. But it didn't bother me at all, really. It didn't. It was more so I think for me, you
didn't want me to buy milk, though.
That was a whole different thing, but that's different. I don't want to buy milk because I knew I would drink the milk because I had a whole different. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole separate thing.
Right.
But I think it's super important the whole process with sacrifice, I think, reminded me, I think, to kind of encourage you a lot of times to make sure you didn't give up who you are as a person. Like I've fell in love with you, Jade, and everything you brought to the table. I never wanted you to ever feel like you had to like give up who you are as a person, who your core of a person is. I wanted to always make sure that as your husband, I'm encouraging those things in you that I feel like, make you so special, right? So I never wanted you to ever feel like, oh, you have to like, dim your light. No, I want your light to shine bright. You know what I mean? I wanted you to always make sure that like you can do what you would desire to do, because that's what I feel like we give each other. I feel like you make it easy for me to be able to figure out what I want to do, and again, a lot of my thought process of where I'm at for residency, the whole 9 yards, was all tied to making sure that not only that it benefited me, but it benefited us.
Right.
Right. And so it's the element of sacrifice is served, I think, within marriage to remind you that it's teamwork.
Yes.
It is teamwork. Marriage is about teamwork. It's not about, I'm over here doing my thing, you're over here doing your thing. When you're separate, when you're by yourselves, you are not able to accomplish those particular things. But when you are a one voice, one accord, you're unbeatable, right? And so that whole moment really served to help remind me that we need to be on one accord. Like, we're each other's helpmates. We're each other's, biggest cheerleaders, right? And so, yeah. It
was a time. It definitely was a time in our lives, and we'll never forget it. And we're not condoning you do this. Like, everybody's situation is different, obviously, but
if it works
for you. But our situation is very unique with him, being in school. Not saying like no one has ever had that situation, but being in school that early on in the marriage, he's in the thick of it. And I'm kind of starting out in my career too. We're both starting out together on our different career paths, and we're just trying to excel together at the same time. And that's all I ever wanted, and I think that's all he's ever wanted too. We want both of us, like he said, we want to both succeed. We both want to do well. We want to both do what God is calling us to do.
Right.
And we're gonna see what comes next. But so far, it's been good. That was like one of the best things that could have ever happened for our marriage.
Absolutely.
Is the point I'm trying to make. And I'm glad we did it. No regrets. No regrets. 0. I'm so happy that we did it. And no regrets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess kind of rounding thing up, again, I thank you for kind of this, you're sharing that transparency in regards to kind of like what you were going through, and just kind of just helping to frame kind of the element of sacrifice, right? That's such an important piece, right? And I think that's, and hope and pray that everyone who's watching this and watches this podcast, like, really just feels encouraged, right? And just be reminded that, when you build a bond with someone and you're building a bond with someone, it's important to communicate, what your needs are, what the things you're asking for as well.
Which we'll talk about.
It's important to,
soon.
It's important to pray together as well, as we did as well.
Yeah.
And it's really like hearing the voice of the Lord in this, like making sure you really are like tied into that as well. And then being on the same page, right?
Yeah.
And wanting each other to win. Like I want you to win just as much as I wanted myself to win, equally.
Yes.
Right? Because a win for you is a win for me, a win for me, a win for you. Right? It's equal.
It's equal.
And so
it's mutual.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, I think that was it. But yeah, I'm grateful for you, and I'm happy to be married to you. Yeah. I'm glad we can do life together, and I'm glad we can do this podcast for you all, just so you can get a kind of glimpse into the things that we're thinking. And yeah, it's gonna be fun, guys. It's gonna be good. I'm excited. Yeah. So just continue to tune in. Thank you guys for tuning in. Yes. Tune in again, just to hear more about what we've gone through, what our journey looks like, what our journey is looking like as well. Right.
And I hope that it just is an encouragement to all who are watching, all who are, taking time to view. Thank you so much.
Right.
And if you enjoy this and other podcasts we have, make sure you like and subscribe as well.
Comment down below.
Comment down below, of course, as well. You've been waiting to say that. But again, welcome to our channel, Becoming Benjamin, and hope to see you guys in 4 more episodes coming soon.
Bye.